Good morning, and I stand on existing protocol. It is both an honor and privilege to introduce the most accomplished and educated rabbi, whose life exemplifies the highest ideals of Freemasonry, service, knowledge, and excellence. Our brother's Masonic journey began with his initiation into Lord Ashmota's Constitution on the 27th of April 1996. From those humble beginnings, he has steadily advanced and continued to demonstrate an unwavering commitment to the craft. He was installed as Western Master in September 2003, and his zeal did not end there. He was exalted into Royal Archmasonry in 1999 and installed as a Rebel in 2005, reflecting both his leadership and deep understanding of our teachings. His progression in the Rose Choir has been equally distinguished. Admitted to the Rose Choir in July 2000 and ultimately receiving the 33rd degree in 2014, the highest honor of that right. In recognition of his dedication, he was appointed deputy for the province of Ghana, a role he served faithfully for a decade. Our brother is also a founding member of the Grand Lodge of Ghana, where he served as Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies, and in 2021, he was honored with appointment as Honorary Assistant Grand Master. His intellectual contributions to the craft are likewise noteworthy. He has authored many articles published in respected Masonic journals, such as the Chisel and the Grando. Currently, he serves as the editor of the Chisel, the Journal of Ashmota Lodge. Additionally, he is a corresponding member of the Qatar Coronati Lodge, the premier Masonic research lodge in the world. Beyond the lodge, our brother has distinguished himself in the profane world as a highly accomplished neurosurgeon, of course, alumnus of the oldest medical matters in the world, Ashmota, and the University of Ghana Medical School. He advanced his training in the United States, earning a specialization in neurosurgery with additional expertise in neurotrauma and critical care. His professional contributions are groundbreaking. He is recognized for introducing stereotactic surgery and neuroendoscopy into the South region. He has held significant leadership roles, including Vice President and Chief of Neurosurgery for the leading non-profit dedicated to neurological care and research. He is also deeply engaged in academia and global collaboration with numerous peer-reviewed publications and active participation in international neurosurgical organizations. Beyond medicine and masonry, our brother is a passionate patron of African art, serving as founder and president of Art Capital, Ghana, and contributing extensively to the appreciation and documentation of contemporary art. Brethren, in our brother, we see a living embodiment of Masonic virtues, of integrity, service, and enlightenment. Please join me in warmly welcoming and honoring this exceptional brother.
Representative of the traditional ruler of KOFORIDUA, Grand officers, Reverend, ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful to worshipful Brother Akura, Dr. Michael Sidley, for his kind words of introduction. I must begin by thanking the Festival Committee and Right Worshipful the District Grand Master for for the immense honor according me as the 22nd Festival Lecturer this morning. When the invitation arrived, it generated in both my wife and me pangs of anxiety and trepidation. Previous lecturers have been giants in the craft, including a Bristolian lecturer. Furthermore, how could I possibly share the same platform with one of my teachers from medical school? Worshipful Brother Professor Yalvin, who has ably just reviewed and delivered an eloquent festival oration on the dedicant, Brother Akura, Professor C.O. Isma. Even though I recognize that I am among my beloved brethren and friends, a mere mortal like me can only rise to such an honor with the help of the unbounded grace of the great architect of the universe. I am deeply grateful for the invitation and shall now proceed with a firm but humble confidence to attempt executing the task at hand. Folks, the builder of a house has greater honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, but God is the builder of everything. And we are His house, if indeed we hold firmly to our confidence and the hope in which we grow. Unquote. Volume of the Sacred Law, Hebrews chapter 3, verses 3, 4, and 6. Section 1, Calling the Builder. The writer of the epistle to the Hebrews sets before us in a single breath a hierarchy of honor. The house is honored, but the builder is honored more. For no house has ever raised itself. Stone does not gather stone. Timber has no square timber. Behind every wall that stands, there is a hand that labored, a mind that planned, and a will that endured. The volume of the Sacred Law reminds us further that the chief builder, the builder of everything, is God Himself, and that we, His children, are the truest of His houses if we hold firm. This morning I ask you to dwell upon that word, builder, for it is the word upon which our whole craft is founded. Freemasonry has never spoken in any language or symbolism except that of architecture. We square and we level. We are taught with the working tools of the operative mason. Therefore, when we set out to honor the men who carried Freemasonry down through 50 years of its history, there can be no question of the right title for them. They were builders. The only question worth our time this morning is, what did they build? To answer it, I propose that we look not only inward at the craft, but outward at the nation, and that we borrow as our land the architecture of Ghana's own coming of age. The architecture that has a name. It is called tropical modernism. Tropical modernism was the architecture that led to love the climate it was given. It set function above ornament. It did not fight the tropical sun and the tropical rain. It answered them with deep overhangs and shaded courtyards, with breeze blocks and louvers, with the wide window and the open plan, so that lights and air might pass through a building as freely as grace passes through a willing heart. It was carried to this coast in the colonial years by two operative architects, Marcel Fra, and James Ruth. And in their classic work, Tropical Architecture in the Human Zone, they wrote a sentence that every Freemason in this room will recognize as his own. Quote, architecture is a personal art, responding directly to what its creator brings to it, feeling, knowledge, and experience, such that the quality of architecture depends on the individual response to this knowledge and experience, unquote. Rather, change not a single word, and that is the doctrine of speculative logic. For me to hold that the quality of the building depends upon what the builder brings to it, that the temple is only true as the mason, and the work is, in the end, a personal art. So here is the proposition I lay before you. The third 50 years of Freemasonry, since 1960 to 2010, can be read faithfully and fruitfully through the lens of tropical modernism. For these two things share one biography. Both were colonial influence. Both were suspected in turn as foreign imposition, and both in reality were taken up by Ghanaian hands, adapted to Ghanaian soil, and reconstituted as something sovereign in our home. As tropical modernism became by Ghanaian labor the architecture of an independent nation, so Freemasonry became by Ghanaian labor the sovereign grandlord. Hence, we shall ask of these 50 years to build this question. We shall ask, what was built? The lodges and at last the grandlodge, the temples of brick, timber and concrete, the channels of instruction through which light was admitted, the works of charity through which air was admitted to neighboring society, and the sheer survival through years of trial that gave the craft its sovereignty. We shall look for and name the brethren whose labor, like the true foundation, has held. We shall do this in a manner free of dogma, while employing the free flow of ideas, which is itself the Masonic spirit and style, anchored in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. Or, as we say upon the hill of Ashita, who don't listen sins, and all may be one. Section 2, the two imports. Let us begin where every builder must begin, with the ground itself. And there are some graphics up there which you can see and look at your own scheme and liberty. Speculative masonry charges us to build not only structures but character, not only walls but relationships, and not only within the lodge but outward into the society that surrounds it. For the builder is, before all else, the active force, the force that brings an idea out of the mind and into the world, that shapes an environment, that imposes a pattern where there was none. The true builder, Reverend, creates order out of chaos. Hold fast to that phrase, order out of chaos. It will return to us before we are done. When Fry and Drew came to British West Africa in the late 40s, to the lands we now call the Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Nigeria, they came into a discipline that had grown careless, a modernism of cliché, glass walls sweating in the heat, of buildings designed for Europe and merely shipped to the tropics. What Fry and Drew got was, in their own striking phrase, a new, quote, apparatus of thought, or quote, a way of designing that began with the sun and the rain, rather than ending with them. And here is the thing we must not miss. Although tropical modernism arrived with the colonial tide, it did not remain a colonial possession. It became in time an architectural symbol of the post-colonial future, a sign, as one writer beautifully put it, of quote, the utopian possibility of that transitional moment in which new freedoms were won, unquote. Brethren and distinguished ladies and guests, hear how closely that runs to our own story. Freemasonry too was a colonial import. Freemasonry too taught an idea, an utopian possibility, if you will, a vision of freedoms to be sustained within a universal government. And Freemasonry too was met with suspicion, for there were those who saw the craft, as there were those who saw in the new architecture nothing but a long shadow of empire, an ideology in disguise. Both were subverted, both were critiqued, and the relationship of both to the other, all the indigenous ways of this land, has remained a complicated one. Yet, a gifted few refused to leave either thing in colonial hands. They saw that tropical modernism could be made to serve the great and exciting ideal of Pan-Africanism, and they bent it to that service. Among them were brethren of our own craft, Brother Theodore Sheffield Clark, Brother John Olusuado, Brother Victor Adegide, and beyond the craft, men such as Max Bond and Henry Wellington. The very same current, adaptation, indigenization, the patient labor of making a borrowed thing once more, runs through the propagation of Freemasonry in this country. And it runs all the way to its destination, culminating in 2009 with the sovereign Governor of Ghana, practicing pure ancient Freemasonry. The scholars of architecture have long since placed popular modernism within the great history of modernism itself, on account of its quality and its central importance. It must be possible then, and it is the purpose of this morning's labor, to identify with the same confidence the landmark contributions that enlarge the history of our craft. For every Freemason ought to be a builder. Is that not so? Consequently, the question stands before us, plainly, within the 50 years from 1960 to 2010, and within the borders of this nation, who built and what did they build? Worship Festival Mosque, right worship the district governors, Reverend all, ladies and gentlemen, I now respectfully invite you to be upstanding and turn to page 7 of the festival brochure, and behold, glorious things of thee are spoken, we shall sing with only the first verse, and then we shall sing. Page 7. Bible openness. So, let us aim at inventory. When Kwame Nkrumah, this nation's first Prime Minister, looked for an architecture worthy of a new country, he chose tropical modernism and invited Drew and Fry to continue their work upon one condition: that Ghanaian architects must stand beside them at every step. It was a condition that changed everything. For it was that generation of Ghanaian architects, Adegbite, Clark, Owusu-Addo, who took the borrowed instrument, ushered it into a form of his own, and lifted it from a relic of empire into the language of nation. Two examples I will give, and they will stand for the rest. Namibia, Worshipful Festival Master, Reverend O, and distinguished guests, as a resident of Tema for the better part of 4 decades, to speak first of that city, Africa's first planned city, steeped stone by stone in tropical modernism. It was planned with meticulous care by Brother T.S. Clark, the first Ghanaian architect, who took a small fishing village called Tolman, aka the town of the gold in Ghana, and conceived from it a modern integrated industrial city. Its harbor opened in 1962 and built to be the largest artificial harbor on the continent. It became the engine of our post-independence trade. For the better part of a decade, it was Brother Victor Adegbite, as Chief Developmental Officer of the Tema Development Corporation, who held that city to the high and exacting standards of his time. The second example is the work by Brother Adegbite in 1961 in Accra. The Black Star Square was completed, where the colonial athletic field had been. There now stood a monument to a free nation, a naturally ventilated viewing platform beneath 3 soaring parabolic arches that frame the Gulf of Guinea as a deliberate and defiant answer to that other terrible doorway of our history, the door of no return. Tropical modernism had become quite literally a tool with which to mold the nation, with which to build the nation out of its own past. While the operative builders raised the nation, the speculative builders were not far behind. Within the 3 constitutions that ensured this land, the work of building lodges went steadily on. Under the English Constitution, the District Grand Lodge, when the 1960s opened, was led by Right Worshipful Brother Sir Charles William H. Mason, the first African ever elected to that high office. In the tenure that closed in 1962, he consecrated 16 lodges, and remarkably, half of them in his final 2 years alone. Whether that late and astonishing pace was the fruit of his own seed, kindling a hunger in other men to join the craft, is a question the fuller study must one day answer. But of him as a builder, there can be no doubt. After him came the longest reign in the district's history, that of Right Worshipful Brother Dr. Ebenezer Amosai, who held office for 19 years, from 1969 to 1988, and consecrated 19 lodges in his time. Between them, these 2 illustrious brethren raised nearly half of all the lodges that will stand upon the English district roll in 2010. Every one of those lodges was still active at the close of our period. They must be named without hesitation as builders of Freemasonry Ghana. To them we must add a third, Right Worshipful Brother James Villiers Legg Phillips, installed in 1988. In a single decade, he consecrated 10 more lodges. Katie Manson, Saki, and Phillips, the big 3, 2/3 of the English lawyers standing in 2010. Yet the count of lawyers, brethren, never tells the whole of the builder's story. It measures only the wall and not the will. Earlier festivals have examined the lives of the big three in forensic detail, and rightly so, for to them we shall return when we speak of the temples of stone. So in total there were 38 lawyers and 14 royal art chapters consecrated within our study period. I have chosen not to produce a roll call of founders of lawyers, but there is a senior brother and zealous Mason whose commitment to this particular festival is unquestionable and categorical. He was the founder of Summit Lodge, number 9362 English Constitution, consecrated on March 3rd, 1990. Worshipful brother Alexedu, I salute you this morning as a builder. Under the Scottish Constitution, the decade opened with Brother Justice K. Enforcer at the head of the first Scottish District Administration. He was followed by Brother Richard Emerquay, who raised 3 lawyers, and then from 1977, by a man of unforgettable presence, Brother Joseph Collingwood Williams, a celebrated hotelier and an accomplished toastmaster, whose towering and gregarious nature lent a splendid dignity to the office of district master. He consecrated 6 lawyers. He led formal deputations of fellowship to the Scottish district jurisdictions of Togo, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, Nigeria, and it was he who first gave the Scottish district a permanent home as secretariat at the Accra Race Course. Then came the storm. Brother Guilty Ajima was installed as district master May of 1982. And within mere weeks of his accession, the revolutionary government of the day proscribed all Masonic activity. Brethren, these were harrowing days. Halls and temples were ransacked, vandalized, confiscated, and some were turned into revolutionary courtrooms. Records, regalia, and the patient accumulation of decades of the destroyed or lost beyond recovery. On the 9th of 30th July, 1982, misguided hands set fire to the temple at Agabe. In that season, the craft did not die. It went underground. It met in secret in the tiled homes of fearless brethren. Men such as Brother Magdu and Brother Bekuchumba opened their own doors to give the beleaguered craft refuge. In 1984, an act of building of a different and higher kind, the heads of all 3 constitutions, Brother Saki, Brother Ajima, Brother Mercy, acting as one, revealed upon the government and won back every Masonic hall for Masonic use. That, brethren, is what it means to bring order out of chaos. The Scottish district recovered in group under Brother Pico Usu and Brother Dr. Jani Silva. The work resumed. Under Brother Daniel Sakipa Ubo, who served 2 full terms from 1996, he was raised to a new standard altogether. He instituted a planning committee that lifted the dignity and the ambience of every communication. He drove with his own tenacity and purse the renovation of the decrepit rooms of Agabe into a permanent secretariat. in April of 2003, he presided over the Golden Jubilee of the Scottish District, a celebration graced by the presence of the President of the Republic himself, a brother, His Excellency John Ajahn, a unique moment in the history of this nation. When in 2004, Brother Charles William Stanley succeeded him as District Grand Master, the ground had already been prepared for the greatest building project of all. Under the Irish Constitution, the story was one of swift and joyful growth from a single seed. In 1960, there was but one Irish lodge in Ghana, St. Patrick's Lodge in Accra. Yes, when Right Worshipful Brother Covenant Apostasy took its affairs in hand at the close of that decade, the harvest came quickly. Within a few short years, 6 more Irish lodges stood beside him. And in 1973, the Provincial Grand Lodge of Ghana, under the Irish Constitution, was constituted, with Brother Apostasy as his first Provincial Grand Master. Under his leadership, 9 lodges were raised. He was succeeded by Brother Dr. Nana Fridua, a brother who carried the honor of being the first member from overseas ever appointed as substantive Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge of Ireland itself. 3 constitutions, 3 streams of patient labor, 1 rising house. Worshipful Festival Master, Right Worshipful District Grand Master, Brethren, distinguished guests, I respectfully invite you once again to the outside, and let us sing the second stanza, See the Streams of Living Waters. The Appenting Temple at KOFORIDUA, the Masonic Mizoni temple at Ashram, the Kumoji temple at Adana, the temple of Lord Dukwase, the Plateau temple at Impraiso, the Pachukofe Hinaku temple at Ashurasi. But here's the fact. What goes in the home tells us something profound about the spirit of our craft. With one exception, every temple in that list was raised very nearly single-handedly by the zeal and the curse of one devoted brother. The Kumoji and Abentin temples bear eponymously the names of the very brethren who built them. Brother S. Abentin also alone secured the St. George temple at McCarthy Hill. The Plateau temple at Impraiso stands within the residential compound of Brother Beguba, who built it. And the Fair Hinaku temple goes chiefly through the labor of Brother Utreso the Sankampon VI, the past Grandmaster of our grandmother. Brethren, this is Masonic charity in its most complete, unintended, its most concrete form, the most enjoyable. Not a check, but a building, not a gift that is spent, but a gift that shelters generations. Then there is the exception, and it is a glorious one, the Masonic temple at Ashram. So far as we are aware, the only purpose-built Masonic temple anywhere in the world that stands upon the compound of a school. It wears its tropical modernism openly. In the frontal staircase, the ample porch upon its pillars, the wooden shutters, the pitched roof. In those hard years of the early 1980s, when the craft elsewhere was hunted, the Ashikota temple was neither ransacked nor desecrated. It became a refuge. It sheltered the craft until decorum was slowly and patiently restored. It was a temple erected by builders and twice afterwards renewed by builders, initially refurbished by the sole effort of Brother Professor Yavasvili in 1982. And renewed again in 2006-2007 by the sole effort of Brother Eric Sorabu. We should not forget that under the English district, in the tenure of Right Worshipful Brother B.K. Wood, 2 further works were completed to a high standard. The total refurbishment of the William Galloway Memorial Hall and the founding of the J.B.F. Phillips Masonic Library Museum, a house fittingly for the memory of the craft itself. Westwood Festival Master, right Westwood District Grounds. Guard officers, brethren, all distinguished guests, please let us be outstanding and let us sing our prayers. Section 5, the building of instruction. We have spoken of walls. speak of light. For a temple without light is only a tomb. A temple without light is only a tomb. The architect Le Corbusier left us a phrase as cryptic and as luminous as any in our own books. Architecture is the encounter of light with form. The whole genius of tropical modernism lies in the courtship of light, in the sunbreaker and the deep overhang, the perforated screen and the wide window by which the builder admits light he needs and turns away the glare he does not, and lets the sun itself draw shadow and texture upon its walls. Brethren, is this not exactly and precisely the figure of Masonic instruction? Is our gentle craft anything other than a search for light? Light sought, light measured, light admitted with care, and all of it guided by that immeasurable light which is from above. Yagrichamo Radhakrishna transmits this truth. The building, over on three of its four sides, with only an eastern wall standing behind the wall. Its roof reaching out in the great overhang to give shade at every hour of the day. The architect was Brother T.S. Clark, the founding member of my mother-in-law, actually. He built, quite literally, House of Lights. Three other examples are the Children's Library in Accra, the Badmore Library, again in Accra, and the KOFORIDUA Secondary School buildings. The builder of instruction admits light into the craft. And there have been two solid, faithful instruments of that work across these 50 years. The first is the Grant, the Journal of the English District, launched in 1988 by Brother J.B.L. Phillips. It draws its whole purpose from a single imperative, that the inner meaning of the ritual must be studied. Furthermore, that the history of the craft, its governance, its ancient landmarks, and its moral teachings must be understood and not merely recited. Its editors, beginning with its founding editor, Brother H.C.A. Bully, through Brother H.B.H.C., Brother G.F. Dunn, and Brother J.B. Gilmore, made better that work with exemplarism. The second is this festival of institutional works itself, conceived in 1974 and established in 1977 by university lawyers. Its aims were to honor departed masons, to present papers of true scholastic quality, and to kindle among the lodges of our schools and universities a living interest in Islamic scholarship. It has known seasons of abeyance, for builders too must sometimes wait upon their means. But it has always been revived, because the work it does is indispensable. The rolling back of the mists and clouds of ignorance, in the favor of the eternal architect, cause this festival to grow from strength to strength. Section 6, ventilation, the building of charity. Grant me now, brethren, the poetic license to speak of ventilation as it takes a builder's word and carries a builder's blessing. In tropical modernism, ventilation is the quiet art of the feminine wall, the louver, the breeze drop, the open plan, the high ceiling, all means by which a building is cooled, not by machine, but by the free and faithful movement of air through it. The building does not hold its air. It lets the air pass through and provides relief from the ravages of heat. And that, brethren, is charity. Charity is the ventilation of the craft. It is the movement of relief through the body of the brotherhood and out into the living society beyond. The lodge that holds his blessings, like the building that seals his walls, grows stale and errs within. The builders of this work are honored among us. It was Brother Victor Owusu who established the autonomous Scottish Samaritan Foundation in 1990, borrowing the idea and premise from the charitable example already set by the Samaritan Club of Ashimota Lodge. Thus, charity was not an occasional impulse, no, but a settled annual institutional duty. It was Brother Charles William Sanukira whose inspired scheme of membership medals gave that foundation a steady and generous income. The English and Irish constitutions in turn followed suit and raised Samaritan foundations to their own. But hear me, brethren, hear me, the finest fruit of that labor, in the years around the turn of the century, a great portion of the relief given by the Scottish Foundation flowed into a single channel, the annual blood donation campaign in our secondary schools in support of the National Blood Transfusion Service. Our brethren helped to gather from the young men and women of this country the very blood by which other lives were saved. That great work was honored in the year 2000 by the formal commendation of the World Health Organization, the UN Board. Brethren, that is what ventilation builds. That is air moving free and giving life as it goes. Where's the master? Back westward distant runners. Brethren, distinguished guests, we need to hear another voice. Our honors, please have silence. They were builders of a deeper kind. Builders who improved the very tradition they served. Our craft too has known its dissenters, and let us be frank, its attackers. But the close and honest examination of those attacks reveals them almost always to be built of the same recycled misinformation and sometimes centuries old. Several papers by brethren such as J.B.L. Phillips, Professor Yara Smithy, and Brother C. Fisher have refuted those accusations factually, fully, and with dignity. There was also dissent within our brotherhood on whether government should raise its own sovereign grant. It was not settled without debates. But debate, brethren, is the scaffolding of every great building. It stands while the word goes up, and it comes down when the word is done. In 2009, two of the three constitutions came together and raised the Grand Lodge of Ghana, with Brother Charles William Sandugier as the first Grand Master. That, brethren, is the summit of our 50 years. Craft that arrived as a colonial import, that was suspected as a foreign nuisance, that was driven in one terrible sea, underground, into the homes of fearless men. That same craft, by the patient labor of generations of builders, walked out of the shadow and stood up at last as the sovereign Grand Lodge of his own. The relationship between the Grand Lodge and the English district remains as it should all the other functions, with occasional honest testiness or turbulence that all living families know. And there are wise builders of both sides who will see to it at the born homes. These ties are also strengthened by the higher degrees, the Royal Arch, the Monk, the Rooster, which have all remained vibrant throughout the half-century of witness. Popular modernism became, by Ghanaian hands, the architecture of a free nation. Freemasonry became, by Ghanaian hands, the sovereign Grand. The two scholars with the gospel are ended as one. Conclusion: keeping what was built. We began, brethren, with a builder, and with a builder we must end. The volume of the sacred law tells us that the house is ordered, but the builder more, and that we ourselves are the house of the whole firm. Between 1960 and 2010, the Freemasons of this country held firm, and they built lodges where they had been few, and at last, a Grand Lodge where they had been none. They built temples of stone, many of them raised by the zeal and sacrifice of the single devoted brother. They shed light, the journal, this festival, patient modes of instruction by which the craft grows itself. They built ventilation, the Samaritan Foundation, and the campaign of mercy that the World Health Organization itself was moved to honor. And in the hardest season of all, when the torch was raised against the temple at Akabe, they built the rarest thing a builder can build: survival, and from survival, sovereignty. But the tropical modernists leave us with a warning that we must not turn from. The great number of their finest works now stand neglected, altered past recognition, or crumbling or lost. They are the proof, written in concrete again, of a hard law, that what is built with vision can still be lost through inattention. No building maintains itself, neither do our lodges, nor our temples, nor our instruction, nor our charity, nor even our hard-work sovereignty. None of it will keep itself for us. And so, the charge passes as every charge in this craft passes, of the builders who have laid down their tools to the builders who still hold theirs. We are not merely the heirs of what has been built. We are His present builders. And we are answerable, every one of us, whether it stands. Let us maintain the temples. Let us replenish give the account of the 450 years. Ye will look upon our work and find a house to honor, because its builders held firm. This morning I leave you with the words written in 1900 by James Morgan Johnson and set to music by his biographical brother. Words of a long road and of a people who walks from the gloomy past into the light. An excerpt from the hymn most of you know as Lift Up Your Voices goes. We have come over a way that with years have been watching. We have come treading our path through the blood of the sword. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. So motivating. Grateful, first of all, Master. Right grateful to the district government, land officers, distinguished representatives, and guests. I thank you most heartily for your kind attention.
I stand here in trepidation after such a brilliant lecture to moderate questions and answers on that. We have in our midst quite a few non-Masons. And if I may be permitted for a few minutes just to address them before we get to the questions and answers. Freemasonry is many things to many people. Everyone has a different view or opinion of Freemasonry. Whether to join or not to join, every person weighs said questions. Some of them want to join because they see the way Freemasons comport themselves. At times we look very successful. At times we look very dignified. They would wish to emulate. They would wish to enter so that they can also invite those they see where they are. There are others as well who think that for Freemasonry, you can either improve your stature in society, or unfortunately for some, they think that you can make money out of being Christians. That is a wrong conception. Because we give more, as you heard from the next charity, we give more than we expect to receive. What we expect to receive from Freemasonry is to make ourselves better men and women. By the way, there are women also in Freemasonry. So we seek to project ourselves, find inner peace, and uplift our standing with one another, and especially with ourselves, become better persons. Freemasonry, as I see it, is spirituality. It affords a great deal of intellectual importance and instills in us humanity. It teaches us to love ourselves first and foremost, before having cleared that hurdle, before we can love our neighbor as ourselves. It teaches us to render our neighbor every kind office which justice or mercy may require, to relieve his necessities, and soothe his afflictions. In fact, the teachings that we get from the life of Christ, we find, love your neighbor as yourself, to do unto him that which you wish he would do unto you, and not to do unto him that which you wish he would not do unto you. That is the basis. Today, we have listened to a well-researched, erudite, illuminating lecture delivered on the third 50 years of our existence. And I'm sure that it has left a very deep impression on all your minds. It has sought to distinguish the operative wisdom from the speculative wisdom, that of building the mind, the body, and the soul. And I think we all appreciated that lesson. I will therefore now, if we have all listened carefully, invite anyone who wishes first to either to comment on what we have heard, or wishes to ask a question of clarification, which we shall try to answer.
Very grateful to the Grand Master. I'd like to make two comments. First, on the delegate, Professor Ismail. That should be on a lighter note. There's a story told of two men who wanted to become Masons, and were going to be initiated. So, as we go through the ritual, they had to wait for them to be invited for the ceremony to begin. But they had heard stories that if you become a Mason, you'll be operated upon in the room and all kinds of things will happen to you. They didn't know whether to believe the stories or not. Now, as they sat and waited, Professor Ismail came to pass with his small Masonic bag. And all he did was, he went to the temple. By the time they came for the two gentlemen, they were gone. But the first Ghanaian said, member of the Lord, fitting into the stories that we've heard, no, we are going. We can't afford to lose that part of our body. On a more serious note, the lecture mentioned one of the builders, right worshipful brother J.O.T. Ajman, who was the second master in 1982 for the Scottish Constitution. Brother Ajman was a founding member of Warsaw Lodge in 1952. So that's how far his Masonic career spanned. And it's instructive to note that in 1982, when he was the district Grand Master, his son-in-law was the head of state. And his people were the ones persecuting Masons, and nothing was done about it. Our temples were taken over. The speaker rightly mentioned some of it. But if you listen to the stories from all the lodges that were in Ghana at the time, Tapa and Warsaw lodges had to go to Second B. We traveled in a bus provided by worship by the MT Kofi to attend meetings. It's for that reason why Tapa still managed to get its centenary certificate, because there was no break in their meetings. And the brethren in Brother Half Lodge also had to go all the way to Kumasi. Someone hired a bus and they were going on a regular basis. So there was no break. But the point I want to make is, these stories exist, in isolation with the private lodges. And maybe the institution of Festival of Institutional Lodges could one day maybe pull these stories together to serve as an impetus for the young ones to see how the builders sustain and maintain the craft to today. Thank you.
Respectfully, all protocol observed. I have been invited here by Dr. Farm Kofi Abedikun.
Dr.
Farm Kofi Abedikun. He has tried many years to get me become a Freemason. But I sit here today and the impression I have out there is a different impression. Today I see a UTV camera sitting right in the middle of a Freemason event. We don't normally see this. So it looks like you are not telling us exactly what this is about. Growing up, sincerely growing up, I never liked the perception I had. But listening to the last speaker, I stand here and I feel that the word Freemason came out of the builder. I mean, I look at Mason. What does a Mason do? The Mason builds. I feel that it is important for us to go on outreach. If indeed we need men to build our nation, if we need men to build the community, please, let us not be concealing anymore. Let us open up and get people to build. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Were you very afraid of God? Anyway, Freemason, as the word free, you can only enter of your own free will. Never allow somebody to push you into it. Come and find, as they say, come and see of your own free will and all. If you come in and you don't like it, even though you want to retreat yesterday, you are able to do.
Well, the brother who invited our last guest, please be outstanding. What lodge are you in? Would you tell us? You will initiate him at your next meeting with dispensation from me, and we will go to the outreach together.
That was a problem. Any other
Pastor, right wishful Pastor. I just want to say this. We the wives, sometimes we're a little bit disturbed. We don't know whether to encourage you or not. From my own experience, my mother thought that if my husband is a Mason, something could happen to my children or what. And I told her, well, I don't know what he does. And so far as I know, I'm okay. The day he decides to stop, I will stop Mason. I haven't regretted being a wife of a Mason.
Mrs. Akusura, wife of the builder who was referred to honor by. Let us give her another hand. Any other questions or comments? I know you got the distinction between an operating basin and a speculative basin. The operating basin builds structures of water, stone, etc. The speculative basin build our own character from within. We exude light, and the only way we do so is by, as we were saying, the law of distraction, by getting others to distract us of the principles and tenets of religion.
Thank you very much, brothers. I have actually decided to say something, even though I don't want to. For some time now, I've always dreamt of having an opportunity to join or to see what is actually going on here. This is because my boss, my former boss, Asibro Tibuati, was amazing. I had the opportunity to discuss about it with him and then to learn from him. So fortunately for me, I am here today. I have learned a lot and I'm praying one day I'll become a Mason.
That be initiated at the next appropriate
Thank you very much. I was also invited by Mr. George Emisa. Growing up, I've always wanted to be a Mason, but my father said, in tree, Okona, I need Albafia, I bet you what. But today, being here as a young, 30 years young man, and listening to the lecture, and also seeing the men around, and also being inspired by Mr. George Misata, I must say that I will also go out there and preach the gospel to my fellow colleagues who have misconceptions about the Lord and privilege. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Good afternoon. My question is, why is it necessary for the Lord to invite you before you can join the Lodge rather than you request to be in the Lodge?
I didn't quite catch the question.
Why is it necessary for the Lord to invite you to join the Lodge rather than you Christ to be the Lord?
The Lord never invites you to join. What happens is if you wish of your own free will and accord to join, you find the channel by applying. The Lord then invites you to intervene, to find out, amongst other things, your motives, etc., and to advise you what lies ahead of you. The Lord never invites or indicates any person and a choice. So that's why you write to us, and we invite you to come and tell us why you want to join us. We interact with you, and then if you prove favorable in our eyes, we will then invite you to come and join us. Yes, that's one more here. By the way, whilst with you, there is a criteria, a very serious criteria for joining the Lord. That is the belief in the Supreme Being, who you conceive in the Supreme Being. We are not masters of our own destiny. We are here at the work and pleasure of the Supreme Being. So if you do not believe in the Supreme Being, unfortunately, we cannot accept it.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Darlene Ambia, and I was also invited by worshipful brother Kenneth Kafu.
Fourth, cousin.
So my question is, when you were distinguishing between the operative mason and speculative mason, you made it clear that the operative mason builds cement, stone, water, and clay and other materials. Just as illustrated in the presentation that you watched. And also the speculative mason builds from within you and exude the light that is within you. So how best can you build yourself based on the tenets and some characters and distinguished features that can prepare you to be an upright and standing mason?
Alright, to answer that question, our core academical brother, who actually is the editor of Semisonic paper, Brother Nimoy, can you please assist me to answer this question?
Your question is a very incisive one, and that is the purpose of Freemasonry: to teach you, to encourage you, to support you, to build yourself up. So, if I was to say that I could answer it for you this morning, that is impossible. It's a lifetime task. Maybe even you may need more than one lifetime, I don't know. But it begins with the belief in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, and the belief in immortality. Okay? I just leave you with those three tenets: fatherhood of God, brotherhood of man, and the belief in immortality. If you keep those three tenets close to your heart, the details of how you go about building your temple, which is your life, will unfold in front of you according to the grace of God.
And above all, a very essential quality is humility. Humility in each is an essential qualification for you to be a good man and a Christian. I believe time is now close then. So, last question.
My name is KOFORIDUA. I am invited by William T. Jabbar, a colleague at the Faculty of Law. For the past 5 years, I wanted to play to society. And so my mom was speaking and discussed it with her. And I told her my intention. And she said, "Hey, welcome. As if we made it for you. Talk about you whatever come back, I know you're better. Oh, we won't be got any, I won't be coming to it. Because I'm close to my mom. If I join the Freemason, she'll be taking it away. So I should. I said, Mom, I want to see the light. So I discussed this with my friend, teacher about the Faculty of Law, and he invited me today. By having been here today and see the beginning of the name of the present here, I so wish to be here. Thank you.
Charity projects and are set
itself a fundraising target of 100,000 seeds. Say 100,000 seeds. And that is why we need your support. Whether you are here as an individual, a group, a business, an institution, we rely on your support. So, if you can contribute right now, 20,000 seeds, 10,000 seeds, 15,000 seeds, 5,000 seeds, to put a smile in the face of the destitute, to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry. Raise up your hand right now. Raise your hand. 20,000 seeds, 15,000 seeds, 10,000 seeds. We have platforms available. You can pledge. If you can't give now, you can pledge to give in a week, a month, 2 months. Just raise up your hand. 20,000 seeds, 15,000 seeds, 10,000 seeds. Do I see a hand up? 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 The volume of the sacred law instructs us on our relationship with God, our neighbor, and ourselves. In the parable of the Samaritans, says Samaritans, we are told that a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. And while on this journey, he fell into the hands of robbers. They stripped him naked, they beat him up, and left him half dead. And after a while, a priest came along. He saw him, and then he walked the other side. And then after that, a Levite also came. He also saw him, but then went to the other side. But then, a Samaritan, say Samaritan. Samaritan saw him, and he had compassion on him. And he went to him, and he bandaged his wounds. He poured wine on the wound. He poured oil on the wound. And then he took him, he placed him on his donkey, and took him to the inn. He cared for him. The next day, whilst he was going on a journey, he paid the innkeeper some money and said, I'm going on a journey, and when I return, whatever you spent, I will repay. And in the parable we are told, which of the three was a neighbor to the man? And we are told that it is the one who showed mercy. That is what we are doing here. Our charitable events at the end of the day provides clothes to the naked. It feeds the hungry and puts a smile on the destitute. 10,000, 20,000, 15. Let me see your hand up. Let me see your 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. The platforms. So on the pledges, you write your name, your contact number, and the amount you want to pledge. Reverend, ladies and gentlemen, we give not because we have much, but we give because we want to practice the virtues of brotherly love and belief. Please distribute the
Reverend, ladies and gentlemen, while the fundraising event still goes on, we will take arms. While the fundraising still goes on.
So from arms, dip your hands in your pocket, your purse, and then take a big 100, 200, 300. Yes. We are told that charity is a representation of Freemason.
Brother Dickens, arms.
I told him, Fansfield Lord has a donation today. Can they please come forward? Put your hands together for them. Fansfield Lord is donating 4,500 seeds. Put your hands together. Any more. As an individual, a group, a business. In 2020, the district again provided school uniforms to people in the northern part of the country, to boost enrollment and to increase confidence. This is what we've been doing, and we need your support. So that the collection holds and the bags that go around to make generous. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have the Momo account, digital wallet, 0244519003. If later on you want to donate through this digital channel, you can do so, 0244519003. The name is Philemon Adamba. Philemon Adamba. 0244519003. If you want to contribute digitally.
If you feel like contributing towards charity, you will see.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your generosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother, please let's start with the arms.
goes to none other than Right Westford brother Niijate Wani Andrews, the lecturer. This plaque is being given in recognition to this invaluable contribution that you have given to this festival this afternoon, the lecture, for which we are all very grateful and will learn practical.
We are delighted and would be to explore how the University of Ghana Medical School might support future editions of the festival and equally how the fraternity can consider sponsoring select school initiatives. Now, to the reason why we are here, we are especially delighted that in 2026, dedicant is our own Professor Charles Odampton Eastmont. Aside being the first to qualify as a surgeon specialist, was also the first African to hold the position I occupy now, and that is the Dean of the University of Ghana Medical School. And also to let you know that the College of Health Sciences has actually dedicated its building to the memory of Professor Eastmont, and this was done as far back as 2012. This is just, thank you very much. This is just to say that we support this honor being done, Prof. I want to end by acknowledging the representative of the Omahini of KOFORIDUA and everyone present here, especially the organizers. Accept my sincere appreciation for your hard work, your vision, your attention to detail. I'm so impressed. Everything has been ordered. Thank you so much. You have created a wonderful opportunity for learning, for fellowship, for inspiration, and for mentoring. Congratulations once again, and I wish you a successful and memorable festival. It has been very memorable.
Brethren, ladies and gentlemen, the Right Honorable District Grand Master will address us.
Once again, good afternoon. First of all, Worship Master, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, representative of the Omahini DRC. Such is the nature of free nation, that as some must of necessity will teach, so others must of course submit, learn, obey. Every newly installed master is advised to communicate rights and instructions to the brethren of his lodge, while his principal officers are instructed to do the same by communicating rights and imparting knowledge to all whom they be placed under their direction. This morning represents our 22nd festival, and I believe we've witnessed a scholastic learning lecturing about an eminent Mason and a scholar, our dedicated and very wishful Professor Emeritus Charles Odampton Eastmont. He was a wise, gentle nation builder who chalked many firsts in medicine, Ghana, some of which you've heard, but first as a cardiac surgeon, first at the Ghana Medical, first Dean of the Ghana Medical and Dental Association, etc., etc., etc. Very wistful brother, Professor Eastmont distinguished himself in medicine, national development, and pre-ministry. In pre-ministry, he was a past Deputy District Grand Master of the District Grand Lodge, English Constitution, and held the grand rank of past Grand Sovereign under the United Grand Lodge of England. Our brother, Mark Webb, he lived respected and died regretted. Freemasonry has always been a vehicle of fellowship across ethnic, professional and social lines, a quiet but powerful force for nation building. This festival is itself a part of our legacy, scholarly, public-facing tradition, celebrate Freemasons' contribution in Ghana. And as you've heard, ventilation provides charity. Benevolence and charity are deemed virtues by which a Freemason is known. Our relief effort on this occasion being refurbishment of the KOFORIDUA Polyclinic Theatre and Lounge. The Polyclinic serves a population of 130,000 in both primary healthcare and clinical services. And the donation we made is only one of many to come. To Westford brother, Yao, the Judefi, and Westford brother, Ni Ajete Boneandrus. Both of them delivered the addresses and presented the festival lectures respectively. I say a big thank you for the enlightenment and imparted knowledge on all here assembled. I thank you. Now, for this to happen, the Festival of Institutional Workers had a leader in the form of the festival chairman, Westford brother, Ambassador Dr. Brownfield, and his team. Those who are here can please be outstanding. With the exception of the advisor, they can please be outstanding. What I wanted to do is to say, are you cool for a job well done? And to all the 12 institutional leaders, please accept my profound gratitude for your continued participation and financial support to our annual lectures. And now to the advisor. All of you may sit and he may rise. Somebody's got to help you with it. Westport brother, without your scrutiny, your intense supervision, we wouldn't have been crisp and near perfect as we have this day. And we thank you for your continued support and supervision. While I was thrown under the bus, I was going to try and say a word myself about my predecessor. So I cannot end my address by thanking a few of those who have made this happen. And that is our departed emeritus, past District Grandmaster, Right Westford Brother Kaklansa, for his leadership and initiative in reviving the Festival of Institutional Orders from the one-time vibrant Festival of University Orders. Finally, to Right Westford Brother Isaac Olakokot, immediate past District Grandmaster, I thank you for carrying on with this program during the decades of your supervision as District Grandmaster. And to our host, who is not here, Vilmandini Dasper-Brighton, I am going to send a message to our next unit to be made brother, to let them know that we are very thankful for welcoming us to KOFORIDUA, and that we recognize that he, himself being a brother, has not taught it derogatory to his dignity to exchange the scepter for the throne and has joined us in our assembly. And we look forward to your joining us. In your program, you might have seen that we have an annual communication of the district. I just wanted to have a slight correction. The date is Saturday, September 12, 2026. We look forward to seeing our brothers, and we look forward to seeing all your nominations at our festive board after that meeting. Distinguished ladies and brethren, I thank you all for being with us this morning and through this afternoon. I look forward to seeing you at our festive board, and again, for you to join us in 2028, where we have this again in some parts of Ghana. I thank you and I wish you all well.
Professor of the New Traditional Area, brethren, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have a simple duty there at this time to add on to the tons of thank you that you have received today. I would therefore want, on behalf of the standing committee of this festival, to express our sincerest appreciation to all of you for finding time to join us here in Victoria today. We know that here in Ghana, our weekends are almost always taken by competing needs and threats. But you decided to respond to our invitation and elect to be here this morning. From far and near, we know some of us arrived yesterday, and the rest of us this morning. We are very, very grateful. We are hoping that our next call, you'll be here to show your support. You have been disappointed us today. But then let me be specific and mention right from District Minister. We are grateful for your guidance. We know you supported us at committee meetings. You gave us brilliant ideas. We picked them today. We are here. We are grateful. Nana Jasmine of New Traditional Area. May it please you to extend our warm felicitations to the Almighty of the New Traditional Area that you represent today. We know that Nana has been very passionate about charity. We are aware that Nana was very influential in getting the steering committee to choose Koforidua to be here today. They persuaded us to pick a charity that he felt so strong about. That's the Koforidua Polyclinic. This morning, we realized we were there to commission the rehabilitated, refurbished laboratory, and also the donation of the double-decker animal spacing for the surgical department. Please commit to our sincere appreciation. We wish you were today, but we know we will be. We expect you, based on your promise, to attend your committees. Don't forget to extend invitation to us. And also to our distinguished festival lecturer, my first wishful brother, Dr. You realize that even after giving us this stimulating lecture, which extended beyond 1 hour, when it was question time and discussions, it appeared to us that everything has sunk into us clear. It took the persuasion of some senior brethren to kickstart the discussion. I believe, brethren and ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, have understood and are now convinced that free music has nothing to hide to. So we would thank you for your sleepless nights, for burning the midnight candle, for boosting to prepare your slides and your lectures. Thank you very much. And again to the family of our illustrious worshipful brother, Charles Ismail. We're happy to have you. Our late brother will remain in our hands forever. Initially, we're not too sure whether the family was going to respond to our invitation to be here. I can't fully show them. We are grateful for this. Thank you very much. And by extension, to our medical school dean and your executive secretary, who are here present, we are grateful for being present to grace the occasion. I believe that the executive secretary was not bold enough to tell us that he's considering joining the fraternity. But we we expect to receive your invitation and your application to join our fraternity. I'll be there to ensure that you join us. So, in sum, brethren, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a wonderful time today. And I hope you're leaving this place with good memories. We shall, God willing, in 2 years' time, reopen and continue this education. So then, thank you very much for your attention.
Festival Master, likewise for the district governors, having completed his assignment this afternoon, and also having enjoyed a well-organized festival, which leads to a time. Outstanding brethren, ladies, members of the district delegation, please forward. ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our closing ode, and it's on the same page where all the odes are. Closing ode, please. I'll stand.
If you haven't yet registered your attendance, please do so. Number two, we'll have a cocktail hour just outside the doors of this hall while the hotel staff assist to switch over the place for the banquet. The banquet should start in the next hour, and admission is by tickets. For those who have secured their tickets but don't have the physical one yet, please see Brother Osei during the cocktail hour for these tickets. There will also be a seating plan pasted outside the cocktail area so you know exactly which table you'll be sitting on. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will remain standing while the festival master and his officers accompanied by distinguished guests retire. Have a take